Unit 2B, Lesson 2, Graphing Linear Equations. What should you know by the end? Today you're learning how to graph linear equations that are written in slope-intercept form. Go ahead and take out your notes and find number 1. Make sure your name's at the top. The direction state determine the slope and y-intercept for the equation and then graph. We always want to pick out the slope and y-intercept and identify them and then use those two things to graph. So let's do that now. The y-intercept is always known as the b in the equation. Remember, our slope-intercept form is y. Please bear with me, I don't have my tablet today. Equals mx plus b. All right, so the y-intercept, remember, is always the constant after x plus or minus some number. So in this case, after x, the y-intercept is -4. Not the best, but it'll work. And then you find the slope. Remember that the slope is the coefficient of x. So in this case, it is 2. Now, since we're graphing, we always need to write the slope as a fraction so that it is in rise over run form. So 2 is a whole number. It's not a fraction, but you can make any whole number a fraction by putting it over 1. So the slope here should say 2 over 1. All right, so now we have the two things we need to graph the line. So the first thing we do is plot our y-intercept. And our y-intercept is always the point on the y-axis. So it's going to start with 0, comma, and then whatever the y-intercept is. So -4. So that's the first point that we plot, 0, -4, because it's the y-intercept. So go up the y-axis until you get at 0, -4, which is down here, and plot that point. All right, then you're going to use your slope. In this case, it's 2 over 1, and we're going to graph the next point. So we're going to rise, and if I can write the word rise, 2, and it's a positive 2, over, and then we're going to run 1, R-U-N. I know that's hard to read. All right, so rise 2. So we're going to go up 1, 2, run 1, and we put our next point. Then we do it again, rise 2, run 1. So up 2, right 1. And we do it again, rise 2, run 1. And again, rise 2, run 1, until we go as far as we can. Rise 2, run 1, and it is a constant rate. Then we can get one more on here, so down 2, left 1 is the same thing. It's like the inverse. And then I'm going to try connecting it to make my line. Actually, it's not going to let me change tools. So you would connect them with a ruler or a straight edge. And of course, since I'm doing this with a mouse, mine isn't very straight. But yours should look very nice on your paper. And that is the graph of y equals 2x minus 4. Let's do another one. Y equals 1/2 x plus 2. So the y-intercept is always after x. So in this case, it is a positive 2. So the ordered pair would be 0, comma, 2 for the y-intercept. That's going to be where our first point is. So let's come over here to 0, 2. So here's 0, 0. So 0, 2 is up 2 on the y-axis. And then we want to find our slope, which is the coefficient of x. So in this case, it's 1/2. So that tells us we're going to rise 1, because rise is on the top, and run means right to 2. So we're going to go up 1 and right 2. So you count the little blocks. Count up 1 block and right 2 blocks. Put your point. Count rise 1, run 2. Put your point. Up 1, right 2. Put your point. Notice it's consistent. Now we want to reverse it so that we can go all the way across our paper. So down 1, left 2. Down 1, left 2. It's like doing the reverse. Down 1, left 2. Down 1, left 2. And then, hopefully very straight, carefully connecting arrows on both ends, showing that it goes on forever in both directions. And there's the graph of y equals 1/2 x plus 2. Let's do another. Example 3. Y equals negative 2x plus 3. All right, let's start with our y-intercept. Remember, that's always your b, so it's after x. So positive 3. Whew. Let's write the ordered pair. These are parentheses. 0, comma, 3 is our ordered pair for our y-intercept. So we're going to graph that first. Go up to 0, 0, and go to 0, 3 would be up 3, and plot that point. Next, we want our slope, which is always the coefficient of x, meaning it's the number in front of x, and includes the sign. So in this case, it's negative 2. Remember that we always need slope to be a fraction so that we can graph it when we're graphing. So we can make any whole number a fraction by putting it over 1. So our slope is negative 2 over 1. So this time we're going to rise negative 2, run 1. Now, rise negative 2. Since it's negative, which direction do you think we're going to rise? Are we going to rise up 2, or do you think we're going to go down 2? Well, since it's negative, we are going to go down 2 units. And we still run to the right. Right is always right, okay? So, down 2, right 1. Down 2, right 1. Down 2, right 1. Rise negative 2, right 1. And then we're going to reverse it. Up 2, left 1, up 2, left 1, up 2, left 1, just to get this extra point here. And then we should be able to connect it. So we have a straight line, and you can tell that it's going downhill, so it's a negative slope, and it intersects right here at 0, 3. So this is the graph of y equals negative 2x plus 3. Example 4. Y equals negative 4/3 x minus 1. So let's first find our y-intercept, which is always the constant after x. And remember that you have to take the sign with it. So in this example, we need that negative, because it belongs to the 1, to know that this time our y-intercept is negative 1. So our ordered pair, where we'll put our first starting point, will be 0, comma, negative 1. And those are parentheses. So we're going to first plot this point. So go to 0, 0, and down 1 would be 0, negative 1. Draw your first point. That's our starting point. Next, we find our slope, which is the coefficient of x, and it also has a negative sign, so we know it's going to be going downhill. So the slope will be negative 4 over 3, which means our rise is negative 4. So which direction? Down, since it's negative, and then right 3. So we're going to go down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. and write 3. 1, 2, 3. Draw your point. Now, if we go down 4 again, we're off the graph. So let's reverse it by going up 4 and left 3. Count again, up 4, left 3. And then again, up 4, which is off the graph, and left 3. So that's a little bit too far, but it might help me to draw a better line, which I know yours looks probably a lot better. Fine. We should be using like a straight edge or something to connect. But there's our line. This is the graph of y equals negative 4/3 x minus 1. It has a negative slope. It's going downhill. It has a y-intercept of 0, -1, which is where it crosses the y-axis. Let's do number 5. Y equals x minus 4. In this example, our y-intercept is the -4. So our ordered pair, our starting point, would be 0, -4. So we're going to draw our first point on our graph at 0, -4. So start 0, 0. 0, -4 would just be down 4. Draw your first point. Next, we're going to look for our slope, which is the coefficient of x. So here's our x, but there isn't anything in front of it. So what number is in front of x that is invisible, that we can't see? How many x's are there? There is one x, and we know in algebra we don't typically put the 1 in front of the x. It's just understood to be there. So there's an imaginary 1 right there. Actually, it's not imaginary, it's real. We just don't write it. And then we also need to make it a fraction because we're graphing. So 1/1 is the slope, which means we're going to rise 1, run 1. And this is a positive, so this line should be going uphill. So start at your starting point, 0, -4. Go up 1, then right 1. Draw your next point. Up 1, right 1. Draw your point. Up 1, right 1. Up 1, right 1. Rise 1, run 1. Rise 1, run 1. Then you can go down 1, left 1. Down 1, left 1. And then connect them. And this is a positive slope because it's going uphill, which we can see it had a positive slope. And it goes through the point 0, -4, our y-intercept. Okay, one more, last one. Example 6. Y equals -2/3 x plus 5. So we first want to find our y-intercept, which is always the constant, including the sign after x. So this time we have a positive 5. So our y-intercept is a positive 5, which means our ordered pair for our starting point is 0, positive 5. So 0, 5, and those are parentheses around it. So we're going to start at 0, 0, and we're going to go up to positive 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For our first point, our starting point, 0, 5 is right here. Then we're going to use our slope, -2/3, so it's negative, which means it should be downhill. So we're going to have -2. Which direction will that be? That means down 2. And then over 3, or run 3. So -2/3. Notice that when the negative's in front, we always give it to the top number. So we're going to go down 2, 1, 2, right 3, 1, 2, 3, and put our point. Down 2, 1, 2, right 3, 1, 2, 3, and put our point. So now we have as many points as we can get on this. So we're going to connect them and draw our arrows. It is a negative slope because it's going downhill. This is the graph of y equals -2/3 x plus 5. Negative slope and y-intercept of 0, 5 up here. All right, now it's your turn to practice. Let's look at your independent practice. I'm giving you an equation. You're to first identify m, the coefficient of x, and b, the y-intercept. Plot your y-intercept as 0, comma, whatever number it is. So in this first problem, it'd be 0, 3. So you'd put a point here. And then use your slope to graph the rest of the points and then connect them with the line. Exactly what we did in the examples. Keep your example page out, your notes page out to help you as you go through these. So 1 and 2. This one has a negative x. So what number do you think that would be for the slope? The negative x would be a negative 1. And of course, it needs to be over 1 so that we make it a fraction. All of these that are not fractions, like negative 2 right here, you'd put it over 1. So don't forget that step. 7 and 8. This one doesn't have a b. So what number do you think is out here after the x? That would be just a 0. So the ordered pair for b would be 0, 0. So your starting point will just be right here at the origin, 0, 0. Let me see if there's any more that are tricky. This one is a special case. There's no y, so it's only going to cross x at negative 5. So it'll be your vertical line. Okay? Be careful on the slope. Remember what kind of slope we said vertical lines have. They're special. And then once you finish these 10, it then goes back to what we did yesterday, where I give you the line. I want you to tell me what the slope is and the y-intercept. So m and b, by looking at the line, count your rise and run, and then put it in an equation. So you're doing that for the next 10 problems. It's just practicing the reverse. Once you finish these, there is a delta math practice that's interactive. It gives you the slope and the y-intercept, and you create the line online on Delta Math. All right. If you have questions, look back at your notes, rewatch the video, and I will see you hopefully tomorrow.